Hey guys, welcome back to CPW Science Edition. Today we're going to select two or more pieces of data from a simple data presentation. Then we'll perform a simple interpolation using data in a graph. Then we'll determine the experimental conditions that will produce specified results. Then we'll determine which simple prediction is not consistent with the data presentation. And then we'll select one piece of data from a simple data presentation. We know we're successful when we can compare data from a simple data presentation. We can interpolate between data points in a graph. We can justify the results of an experiment. We can determine which model best fits the original hypothesis. And we can predict an answer that is supported by a data presentation. In our first question, it asks, based on the results of study 4, how did fragmentation most likely affect the population sizes of insectivores and hummingbirds in the fragment studied? So looking at my graph, I see that insectivores, the population went down, but hummingbirds, the population went up. So insectivores decreased and hummingbirds increased. So D is the best answer for question number 1. In question number 2, it asks, based on the results of study 1, if the distance from the center of a 100 meter by 100 meter plot were 75 meters from the nearest clearing, the expected average change in AGTB at the plot over 17 years will be closest to which of the following values? Here we're going to have to look into the graph. So I see that the x-axis is distance from the center of plot to nearest clearing, and we're looking at 75. So I'm going to draw an imaginary line at the 75 mark. Then I would draw another line perpendicular to the y-axis to determine what value in terms of average change it would have. So the line is in between -2 and -3. So the best answer for number 2 is B. -2.6 t per year. In question number 3, it asks, after examining the results of study 2, a student concluded that the AGTB at each of the 25 plots remained constant, meaning that there was no change. Which of the following alternative explanations is also consistent with the results? So, statement A says that AGTB at all 25 plots increased. If this were true, that means that the AGTB would not have remained constant, so A is not an answer. Statement B says the AGTB at all 25 plots decreased. If this were true, then the 25 plots would not have remained constant. They would have all went down, so B is also not an option. C, the AGTB at some of the plots increased, and the AGTB at some of the plots decreased. So this is implying that we had some increase and some decrease at the same rate. So C is a viable option. D says the AGTB at plots bounded by forest increased, and the AGTB at plots bounded by clearings remained constant. So we're saying that at one section it went up, but in another section it remained constant. We'd have an overall increase, so D is also not an option, meaning that C is the only viable answer for question number 3. In number 4, you'll have to look at a lot of the studies all at once. Question 4 asks, which of the following sets of results from the studies is least consistent by the prediction proposed by the research? So what this question is asking is that which of the following studies debunks or is not consistent with the prediction originally made. So the prediction was the clearing of rainforest results in forest fragmentation. Researchers predicted that fragmentation will result in a decrease in animal populations and above-ground tree biomass. So researchers are predicting a decrease in population in both plant life and animal life. In study number 1, it looks as if the average change in HB decreased. So the study 1 is consistent with the prediction. So A is not a viable answer. In study 3, the biomass, the plant life also decreased. So study 3 is also not a viable option, so B is out. In study number 4, the frugivores, denoted by the squares in figure 3, went down, so that animal population decreased, so C is not an option. But the hummingbirds, noted by the triangles, those slightly increased, which is not consistent with the researchers' original suggestion, so D is our answer for question 4. And lastly, in study 4, the researchers trapped birds for 10,000 hours per year. Thus, how many insectivores were trapped in year 2? So we had to find year 2, and we have 3 data points. But then I had to find the button that meant insectivore, which was the diamond. I found that, and along the year 2 line, it was 80 captures. So the answer is A. So to review, our answers for CPW round 3 for science are 1D, 2B, 3C, 4D, and 5A. See you guys next round.